Welcome to Boris FX Live. Sponsored by Dell Precision Workstations. Create without limits. And by NVIDIA. And Intel.
Hello and welcome to Boris FX Live, your fortnightly introduction to all things Boris and beyond. My name is Ben Brownlee for Boris FX, and we've got a stonker today. We are going to be looking at what's new in Silhouette 2021. We've got a little sneak peek of that, and we've also got a very, very special guest, James Pina from Laika, the company behind such films as Coraline and Missing Link. So we've got a really, really big show coming up ahead. But you also can get involved because this is Boris FX Live. So get all your questions in now. If you're joining us on YouTube, use the YouTube chat. Or if you're looking at us on borisfxlive.com, then you can use the little chat bar along there as well. We do love to hear from you, and we love to take your questions all the way through. So this is going to be absolutely fascinating. So and a very, very special chance to chat with our special guest. So use this opportunity wisely. You can also do other things on borisfxlive.com, including joining our competition. So if you want to join the competition today, then head down to the bottom of the webpage and you will find a little space to enter in all your details and read about the full terms and conditions of the competition. But what can you win today? Well, you can win a 12 months subscription of the Boris FX suite. So that is everything that we make, including Silhouette that we're going to be looking at today, Sapphire, Continuum, Mocha Pro, and of course, Optics. I'd also like to say a special thank you to our friends at NVIDIA, Dell, and Intel for helping this happen and being sponsors of our live streams for the past long while now, with special thanks, of course, to Dell and their precision workstations. Other way, keep going. There we go. The Dell Precision Workstations, the #1 workstation brand in the world. We obviously use quite a lot of Dell Precision in-house here. Including the laptop that is right next to me. But yes, let's come back here and join us on the socials. Of course, you want to keep up to date with all the latest news and hot goss. Join us on the socials with the full list of Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and of course Instagram down there. But come back to me, please, Mr. Brian. Thank you very much. Enough of all of that. Let's have a look and see who else is joining me, because obviously I'm not doing it all on my own. We'll start with Mission Control. Mission Control, are you there?
Oh, I am here. Happy St. Patrick's Day, Ben. It's gonna be a fun show. I can't see anything.
It certainly is going to be a show. Thank you, Brian. Mr. Brian Fox is the button pusher in chief at the Boris FX Video Village. Thank you, Brian.
Excited. I'm a big fan of Laika, so this is going to be fun. Hopefully, I don't embarrass myself with drunken questions later about stop motion films. So that's it. That's all you'll hear from me for the rest of the show.
I hope so. Press the next button, because I'm going to introduce the next guest. And the next guest is Marco Paolini, who is the product manager for Silhouette. Hello, Marco.
Hi, how you doing? Super excited about the event today. Can't wait to hear what James has to say and show.
And, we've also got, obviously, we're going to be showing Silhouette 2021 as well, doing a little sneak peek of that. So as you know, obviously there's been a lot of work gone into development of that over the past year. So it's going to be really interesting to sort of start to show off some of that work. So thank you, Marco, for being here.
I think the exciting thing about this Silhouette 2021 release is that it really is the culmination of a lot of features that we really had wanted to do for a long time, kind of peppered in with a bunch of artists' requests. So I think it's just a great building upon the manual tools that we already have to really tackle those tough shots. So we're just trying to provide even more advanced manual tools to help artists out in those situations.
Yep, absolutely. I'm raring to go. I've got pen in hand. We also have Paul Miller, I think, in the chat, who's obviously key to the development of Silhouette. So hopefully he'll be able to help us out with some of the big technical questions that we're going to get later on as well. So hello, Paul, even though you can't say hello back. But obviously the guest that I'm most excited about, because I work with with Marco and Brian, I get to talk to them a lot. The one person I don't get to talk to a lot is James Pina, who is joining us from Laika. Hello, James.
Hey.
So
how's it going today, guys?
Tell us a little bit about yourself? We're going to come back to you later, but just so we have a little taste of who you are.
Sure thing. Well, my name is James Pina. I am the lead Roto paint artist at Laika, and we work on stop motion films, as you may know. And I've been working in stop motion quite a long time, since I was in college. One of the first visual effects things I did was work on a 7-minute stop motion animation, and so from there, working here and there in visual effects for sure, but always coming back to stop motion. It's something I absolutely love, and to work at Laika is just the biggest honor of my life. It's been an incredible experience.
Excellent. And your work is absolutely outstanding there. It's I watched Missing Link, I think for the third time the other day, and was going through all the credits, and I went, James, I'm going to be talking to him in a few days' time. So I've got a lot of questions for you already. So I hope you're strapped in. I think should we have a little chat about what we're gonna be doing today? I think the first part of this stream is going to be looking at Silhouette 2021. I'll be taking you through just a very quick look at what's new. So we're going to be looking at some of the new tools and some of the new things that we can do with it. Then I think we'll head on over to our main guest after that, and we'll talk to James in a lot more detail about the role that Silhouette plays within within that big workflow within Laika. So if that sounds like a good idea, which I'm getting the thumbs up, the virtual thumbs up, I think we'll head on in to Silhouette then. We'll come back to the plugin. So the next thing I wanted to show you actually is going to be some of the Roto tools. I mean, the Roto tools have had they've had a sort of another round of honing. So they're now even more sharp than they were before. Because one of the things that Silhouette has been obviously known for, and its history has always been about the Roto tools, and how those have been, driving the sort of most demanding rotoscope artists or driven by the most demanding rotoscope artists around, and that's where the pedigrees come from. Now, one of the big things that has come up in the last few years, one of my favorite of the Roto tools that have come up in the last few years, has actually been this little fella called the magnetic reshape tool. And what the magnetic reshape tool allows us to do is it allows us to sort of move things in a much more kind of natural looking state. Well, I've sort of shortcutted a little bit here, and I'll just pull us back a second. because this is our shot. This is a it's not a nightmare shot, but it's fully articulated roto. It's quite a challenging little piece. And what I've done already is I've tracked in a layer for the body. This was just a quick mocha track, and now I can stabilize out. There we go. So I can stabilize out the viewer just around that track, so I get to stay a bit more focused on what I'm looking at. So one of the things about getting good looking roto is having things looking nice and consistent. You don't want to have like a single point jumping up and down, or lots of points just jumping up and down, because that's just going to end up meaning that you do a lot more roto than you actually need to do. So one of my favorite things has always been the magnetic reshape tool, which has allowed us to sort of come in and kind of move points in a much more natural style. So what's happening over here is that, the point that I'm moving is moving the furthest, and the points that are far away from this point aren't moving as much. So it kind of is a very sort of natural way of working and moving. It sort of gives us a natural kind of result. Now, what we've also got, hang on, let's create up another shape here. What we've got now in Silhouette 2021 is kind of like a natural evolution of that tool, because that tool is great, but it did mean that I had to select a number of points, go in, and then change those points up. Now, where am I with this? Let's now what the new tool allows us to do, which is called the brush reshape tool, is it actually gives us a brush, and it looks like the regular paintbrush. So what this means is that I can click and drag along with the radius of this brush, and this works in exactly the same sort of way as the magnetic reshape tool does by default. I can change that behavior to make it just work in a different way, but that's how this works. So now, if I have my brush kind of quite big, you can see that I'm selecting a whole group of those shapes. So it means that I can come in and just change up the size of that brush just with the control or command key, just like a regular paintbrush. And I can come in and I can get that shape looking and changing in a much more kind of natural sort of feeling way. And because I'm working with the pen and tablet, this becomes very, very smooth and natural to me. So this is probably my favorite of the new tools. This is the one that there's my finished one. Yeah. So this is actually the primary tool that I used on this shot, and this shot took a few hours to do, but when it comes down to it, we've got quite a few different little bits and bobs going on.
Just an aside,
cool.
Ben,
Are there any questions so far? Yeah.
If you use the
Sorry, Mark,
shift key, if you use the shift key with the brush reshape, you can disable that magnetic behavior. So if you want to move the points all at the same time with brush reshape, you can drag them all out. So it allows you to have both behaviors, but the default behavior being the magnetic reshape.
Yeah. So here's me holding down shift. There we go. So it's just moving that whole shape along. Here's the same movement without holding down shift. You can see the difference
right, and I think the great thing about this is that it's kind of doing two things at once, right? It's doing the selection as well as the actual normal magnetic reshape.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely it's one of those ones where what you're trying to do a lot of the time is you're trying to come in and do as few clicks as possible. If you've got all of these shapes to try to sort of wrangle, and each one of these shapes has a number of keyframes on it, the fewer clicks that you can do throughout the day, the better it's going to be to sort of speed up the rest of the workflow. Because
you probably couldn't see it, but Ben, I'm sure, had one hand on the bracket keys to be on the fly changing the size of that brush. So the same brush shortcuts that you have in the paintbrush are effective here. So while he's got his right hand with the pen, the left hand is making that brush and the brush reshape smaller or larger right on the fly.
Yep. And again, because I'm using the pen and tablet, I've got the scroll wheel programmed in for different behavior. So sort of zooming in and doing the whole brush stuff as well. So yeah, it's nice to be able to sort of customize that there. And that sort of seems to be like a big thing that we will keep coming back to when I talk about some of these, is just the need to click less, so to speak, because that's one of the things. Like, unnecessary clicks is something that really starts to slow people down a bit. Do we have any questions before I go? Because I'm going to go to my next project. So do we have any questions, Brian?
I mean,
surprise, Brian.
What? So what? Come on. I mean, you're taking over. You don't need me anymore. No, I mean, just lots of love.
Begin to regret this.
Yes, you should. Lots of love for the new tools on the chat. Katie Morris had an excellent question, which Paul Miller could not answer. So I don't think you'll be able to answer it either. But if I use an X-spline with the new magnetic brush tool, can I use Alt-S for edge snapping too? So I don't think...
I don't believe so, no.
A lot of people asking some good questions. Ross is in the chat. For you guys that know, Ross is the Chief Product Officer for Boris FX and runs the Mocha team, so he's in there answering a ton of questions too. So I think we're good.
Cool. Well, let's move to the next bit then. The next one that I've got is actually, we're going to stay within Roto for a little bit, and this is actually going to be a fun one, because this is about groups, making up groups of for your shapes. Oh, sorry, for your points. So I've got this shape. Let's just, or this footage. Let's just play that through, just make sure that's cached in. And again, I've done like the big leg work on this as well. So I've just kind of tracked this in, so that here's our shot. It's nothing too special, but I've created up my initial shape. I've also created up an initial track as well. So if we go cam track, there we go. So that just sort of takes out the movement of the camera. So whenever there's camera movement and shape movement, I always want to try to remove at least one of those things with tracking. So yeah, one of the new things that we can do with Silhouette 2021 is I can take a group of points and I can just right click on them and I can actually add them to a group. So if I add the stuff on the right hand side to group 1, I'll add stuff on the left hand side here to group 2. And you can see already, if I have that selected, you can see on the outline there that we have a visible group, which is in orange on the right and green on the left. I can have shapes or points in multiple groups. So I can have all of the top of the head, and I can make a new group in the same way that I could add a new paintbrush as well. So that's Alt, Shift, and let's say 3 to bring this into group 3. And now I've got my third group. So I've got some, let's take this point here. You can see this point is in group 1 and group 3. And I'll do the stuff at the bottom just because. There we go. Let's just bring that into group 4. All right. So what this allows me to do is let's take a look at the right hand side. If I come over around about here, I can use, let's select my shape. I can use my keyboard shortcuts, the same ones that we would use in Paint, Alt and then the number to move between groups. Or I can Control and Shift select on a number there, and that will select all of the points in that group for me. So I can come in, let's come in and do what's group 1 now, and sort of just bring that in a wee bit. And just kind of, it's another sort of way of kind of just getting in and making sure that we're doing as little clicking as possible. And of course I can combine this with my brush reshape, because we do love the brush reshape, and we can start to come in and sort of, just quickly bring all of that into the right sort of place. And this is, the important thing about this and all these tools is that it does mean that for some shapes that are usually you would sort of consider too complex to make into one big shape, I would be quite leery of making this whole head into one big shape usually. It means that we can sort of do that sort of stuff and make the sort of task of Roto just a little bit quicker. So groups are really handy, really useful. Okay, let's. I'll show you the completed version. Is that the completed version though? I have a feeling that that's not the completed version. I know I've just overwritten my completed version. Oh no, hang on. It might help if I turn on the correct one. That would be head groups. There we go. Yeah. Let's unlock that. So just to show that I do have groups in there still. There we go. Use the same groups to do the actual job. Cool. The next one. This is this the right one? No, Car Roto for live stream. This is the right one. So the next one we're going to look at, and I know that I'm eating up my time really, really quickly. So I'm gonna get through these next bits quite quickly, because I want to talk to James more than anyone else. So we're going to get through my bit quickly, even though this is actually really cool. Because the next bit we're looking at is something called weighted multiframe. So a feature that came up in, I think actually it was just in the previous version of Silhouette, was something called a weighted frame, and it was a way of taking a control point with a keyframe. Let's take us somewhere around here, and then coming in and adding a weighted key in between two other points. So we could come in and we could sort of just fix up, elements that were drifting between, two sets of keyframes, just with a weighted key rather than going in and animating them. And this was a really nice way of, saving a lot of time doing manual keyframes, because you could often find that a good weighted key would actually, do the job of 3 or 4 manual keys to get you into the right place. So we're taking that idea and then we're adding it to multiframe. So multiframe by default is just a way of changing loads of keyframes all at once. So, let's see here. I've got my spline, which is heavily keyframed. And the reason it's heavily keyframed is because I have worked smart and not hard. And I've let Mocha Pro again do a lot of work for me with the power mesh. So it means that I've come in, but I do have lots of keyframes added to my shape. So what the multiframe would normally do is it would change a control point or a series of control points across the entire range. Hang on a sec, let's just get rid of all of that. So let's show you what that should look like. There we go, let's bring that over there. And you can see that's made the same, same offset of that across the entire range. Now, that's not always what we want to do. Let's come over, let's find out where, let's have a look at the green over here. The green is probably the easiest way. Take a look down the UI. This is the timeline. This is another little improvement, is that it's a lot easier to see where layers are and where layers are turning on and off, because everything's nice and in color. That's always good and fun. But coming back to our weighted keyframe, take a little look at the top of this green spline. It's not quite in the right place. It starts off in the right place, just about, and then sort of moves off completely. So here, let's just move that up. And that's gone across the whole thing, but it kind of goes off. Now, if I wanted to change that, normally, I'd have to go through and update every single one of those keyframes. And that seems like a real pain. But with the weighted multiframe, what I can say is that actually I want to start around about whatever frame this is, frame 9. So I can then drag the start of the multiframe over to frame 9. And then I can have a little look and I can say, okay, well, the worst point of it is around about frame 40 or something. So I can use my control key or command key and then set a fade over that period of time. So what this means is that if I change up my spline there, just those 3 control points, that's all I need to do. It's going to make those 3 control points change completely wherever I've got, my multi-frame at 100%, but animate across the rest of the things. So sort of compensate for that movement across the rest of the timeline or across the rest of that range. And we can, have weighted multi-frames on either side as well. So we can sort of, build up and then go back down again. This is really useful for helping to clean up already keyframed in, or heavily keyframed animation where you don't want to have to go in and make corrections to, 100 different keyframes. But it's also good if you've got a track or something, and you've got tracking data that doesn't quite line up. It kind of just shifts off at some point. The weighted multiframe is an easy way of offsetting that tracking data. So
if it is
weighted multiframe.
The normal multiframe mode is, adjust keyframes spatially over time. And the weighted multiframe temporarily changes the strength of the effect or the keyframes that you're adjusting by using those fade in and fade out. So instead of moving all the points over all the keyframes, you're moving them less where it's faded out and more where it's faded in. So really good when you have a lot of keyframes and then say you're experiencing some drift from one keyframe towards the end of the sequence, and then not having to touch all those keyframes separately.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that's a very much more succinct way of putting it. Thanks, Marco. While I'm here, I'll do one last little thing here. And I just want to show the notes. This is something that is actually really going to be, really handy. Is that we can come in and we can add in notes onto either, or we've always been able to add notes in, but now we can add notes in on either a node or a layer, an object, or even a tracking marker. So if I come into notes here on my spline on the right, I can say something like, what frame we at? Frame 44. Check the right tire, and then if we come in here, as soon as I click off, we've now got a nice big note telling me that I need to check that tire. If I come over onto the other one, the other shape as well here, I'm just going to say add in more body at top. And I can also come in and say check for jitter, something like that. And then this will add in, my different notes up here. And as I click through them, you can actually see which object it relates to. So this is really, really good for, supervisors who are, checking out stuff and want to add in nice and detailed notes. And it's obviously best for the artists as well, because they can start to see exactly where where problems actually occur. If you don't like the sort of basic font, you can actually come in here and you can sort of do some styling as well. So we can use obviously my favorite Hobo standard font right there, and then we've got different fonts for for taking the edge off of criticism. Just use the normal font. I don't know if people would use Hobo standard in there, but there we go. You've got notes. Notes are in there, and it's actually very useful. I'm sort of making fun of the font, but actually the functionality is much more handy. Any questions so far? Because I'm going to go to one last thing, because I've now seen that I've been talking for far too long. Actually, I've got two last things. All right, we'll see how that goes.
So tons of questions in the chat. Paul and Ross are answering fast and furious. So a few. I agree with Gentry calling for James, right? In terms of let's get to it. But I think we're good with your last 2 points. But yeah, lots of excitement over the new feature. So good job, Ben.
I hear you. Thank you.
You did nothing, by the way. Yes, I should say good job, Paul. Good job, Marco. Because all you're doing is not crashing.
Oh. Well, I do what I can do.
You do.
We've got a little job in here. So this is me using Silhouette for doing a bit more kind of compositing. So I've actually got like a lot of different stuff in here. I've done like a quick little set extension, sort of brought in some stuff with paint. We've got sort of different roto areas as well. So I've got tons of different, parts to my comp here. But as I'm looking through here, you can see that the tree gets a wee bit messy. In fact, it gets so messy that I can't follow half of this stuff. So it's very lucky for me that in Silhouette 2021 we have, let's just disconnect some of these ones. Yeah, we have more stuff for people who like a bit of order. We've got some new nodes under utility. We've got a dot and a note node. Now the dots are really sort of basic and straightforward, and I love them. a dot will just basically add in a sort of small compact null node in between other nodes. So I can come in here. I can go over to this side because this is really messy. In fact, this is so messy I don't even know where to start with this. So I can come in and I can sort of alt click on a connection, and I can start to, come in and add in sort of nodes over here. And Brian said about not crashing. Not only did I just crash, I also showed you my secret desktop shame.
But look at that! Look at that beautiful new splash screen, though, right?
The splash screen's grand. The splash screen's grand.
It's my fault, Ben. I apologize. I did jinx you.
You did. So I'm going to have to let's come in. I'm going to give us a bit more space now, and just kind of clean up my tree a wee bit. I'm not going to clean it up completely because no one wants to sit and watch me. Well, maybe. Like, can we have a little show of hands in the chat? Who wants to sit and watch me clean up this tree for 5 minutes? We've got James Pina from Laika just sitting in the waiting area. So the choice is very, very tricky. I'm not seeing many yeses. I'm seeing more than I expected to.
I mean, you're
the other thing
you're 2
we're
minutes
going to do
ahead, Ben, too. So,
Shh, don't spoil the illusion.
We're in the future.
I know what's happening. This is all a magic trick. Yeah, the other thing we've got is a note node, and a note node we can use either just to say needs more snow, something like that, or we can do it in a sort of use these in a bit more sort of smart way and actually start to come in and use these as sort of backgrounds for different areas, and I can come in and I can say this is rock right back, and go into my nodes here. That's very nice. Go into my options. I can change the node color. Let's say that's looking really pretty there. And so we can sort of start to sort of clean this area up a little bit. I can also change if I just sort of do this really quickly. If we have a little look down here, I can go into some of the options and multiple select these, and I can change my layout from vertical to horizontal. I can change the connections as well right here from curve to straight. And at the end of it, let's see, is this the one? Let's have a look at my big reveal. This basically comes in and starts looking a lot more kind of tidy. So I can kind of just, structure these things in a bit more of an easy to understand kind of way.
That just calms me so much, right? That's just I get nervous. I get nervous staring at your rat's nest, right? No, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Right? It's just
you don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. I much prefer this because I can actually see where it is all these connections are going to. So this brings me a lot more kind of inner peace. This is a lot more me. This is the true me.
Now I can demo with your projects and not stare at what the heck is going on.
Yeah, that's it. It's like some of this, even some of the like the beauty stuff, because you're having to sort of break stuff off into lots of different patches. Just color coding things, grouping things, it's just a lot nicer. There are ways of you can sort of auto arrange everything, but I'm going to keep my more zen layout here, doing it manually, I think. Cool. I'm going to do the last thing really quickly. I think it's let's not save that one. The last thing is actually kind of fairly straightforward, because it sort of builds on some of the sort of shared technology that as we've been working with Mocha. So I'll just step through this one, because we have a lens correction module, node now. And what the lens correction allows you to do is just draw a couple of lines, which I have done here. So I've got wide angle footage. It's not, it's not the widest of angles, but it's still in there. And I've drawn a few little splines here. And then I've told Silhouette to go along and just calibrate that. So, this camera model, this will be very, very, familiar to people who have used the lens module within Mocha. So I can just, calibrate that there. Sort of updates the DOD for me automatically, so you can sort of see how that is now curving out, and I'm not losing any of those pixels. But it means that when I'm trying to, do any sort of paint work, it's a lot easier to do paint and auto paint when I don't have to worry about, things being curved. So I've got I don't know, we don't really have time for, nice paint. I've got like a sort of quick paint that I've done here. I've literally just cloned out the building over there. Oh, sorry, the sign over there, just with a simple curve. Obviously I've not really done too good a job on it. I did a single pass on it about 5 minutes before the stream started. But you can see how, that's going to be working with the lens correction. So it's a lot easier to do those straight lines. Then I can then recurve that back in. So you can see that's the input. So that's the straight one. That's basically doing the inverse of what we were doing before. So it's doing the distort back on there. And then I can just comp that back over the top. And so now, if we come in here and take a wee look at the, the before and the after, I've not lost any pixels from doing that lens correction, but it's just meant that all the stuff in the middle has been, a lot simpler and a lot more straightforward for me. So that's kind of fun. So I do need to get this looking right.
Ben, I know you're kind of out of time here, but for the there's a number of other Silhouette 2021 features, including Roto and Paint. There's a collapse point feature that allows you to collapse a bunch of points into a very small area. So if you have a shape that's becoming complex and simple, that can all be keyframed, which is really nice. And then tons of user interface improvements based on artist input. So those are some of the many things you can look forward to when it comes out soon.
Yeah, there's tons and tons of stuff that I really haven't had a chance to get to. There's this is actually speaking from an artist point of view, this is a really rich rich release, because there's so many sort of small little things that have been put into this release that are purely quality of life things. It's about clicking less, fewer keystrokes, just to get the job done. Even little things like having a different color picker for paint. It seems like a silly little thing, but actually it's one of those things where you now only have to spend a second finding the right color that you want to paint on, rather than kind of go through and scrub some scrubbers up and down and try and figure out what's going on there. There's tons of stuff like that. And when Silhouette gets released soon. Obviously, a full list of those are going to be up on the website as well. Anything else we're going to show in interface here, Brian? Let us know.
I think we're good, Ben. I think we can.
Good.
I think we can move on to the fun stuff. You know.
Hey, I take that personally.
You should. You should.
I should. No, I will. I will. No, that's great. That's great. I mean, there's going to be more stuff coming about the new features in Silhouette 2021. But I think right now, I think we should pivot over to our guest. He's waited very, very patiently. Thank you very much, James. This is James Pina from Laika. Let's take a quick look at some of the work, shall we?
Yeah, hold on.
That's a cue, Brian. By the way,
hold on.
Yeah, it's 100% professional.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. That was brilliant.
Amazing.
So much of that just makes me smile. I know we said hello in the beginning, but there's a lot more people here now. So, James, could you just give us a very quick, brief rundown of what your position is at Laika?
Sure thing. Yeah, I'm the lead Roto paint artist at Laika, and basically in charge of making sure that everything goes to plan, and we do fantastic work, and all the quality is top notch. In the past, I've worked as a Roto paint artist, as a compositor at Laika, as a senior artist at Laika, and now as lead. And we do a tremendous amount of rig removal. We do a tremendous amount of scene cleanup. I think if you want to look at the stats on Missing Link, I think that there were a small handful of CG shots in the film. Everything else, every single other shot in the film, like 1,400 shots or so in the film, every single one of them was touched by our team, whether it was seams, rigs. I think there were about 1,000 shots of rig cleanup. So we have a tremendous role and a tremendous responsibility in cleaning up all of that what ends up being very beautiful, you know, very beautiful images that hundreds of people put their time and effort to. So it's an honor, but it's also a huge responsibility, and I absolutely love what I do.
Fantastic. I mean, and the shots really do kind of speak for themselves as well. I think, they are absolutely gorgeous. If you haven't seen Missing Link, I would suggest you watch the rest of this stream, and then go out and watch it straight away. It's an absolute thing of beauty. It's a absolutely unique style as well that I think can probably only be achieved through that mixture of stop motion and CG.
Right, and so much of it is handmade. What people don't think about is a lot of times someone will come up to me and we'll be talking about hey, I work at Laika, it's a stop motion studio, and they'll be like, I thought all those movies were just all CG, and I'm like, no, these are all like handmade, beautiful, like functional pieces of wardrobe, of set, of just everything that goes into it is handmade. Obviously, there's a lot of CG backgrounds and an amazing, absolutely awesome VFX team that I love working with. They're all so cool and so inspirational in what they do. But it is all this like huge effort of artists and handcrafted beautiful stuff. I don't think you can get this kind of look on a CG film. Just the luster of the fabric, and it's every little detail. Here we are.
I think that's definitely something that I saw as well. It has it's not just a unique look; it's a unique feel, and I think that's it's that feel that I don't think that CG, pure CG, could can capture in the same way. So, when you get a shot in, what's the sort of typical sort of workflow for you in your department? Then, where would where does your role fit in the in the main workflow?
Right. So, say something gets filmed out on the stages, and our work is a lot different than a typical visual effects studio. Is because all of the production is happening on site. We're not outsourcing anything. We're doing it all there here in Hillsboro, Oregon. But what will happen is the characters will be animated on the sets, filmed. The film will be processed, and then it'll be sent over to the Roto paint department. We're kind of like the first ones to get things usually, and we clean it up and send it over to compositing. But I think I provided you guys a frame, if you want to pull that up, that kind of shows kind of each step of what we do. So obviously our characters are, they're built for a style. They're not built to sort of support their own weight. So that there's all these rigs that have to hold them up, that have to give the animators freedom to do what they need to do. But obviously that creates a problem where then we have to go and remove the rigs. And so we end up doing just an absolute ton of rotoscoping to get rid of all of those rigs. We also do a ton of cleanup and seam removal. And you can see that there in the top right corner, these seams. Each of our faces is 3D printed and sometimes printed in two parts, which means that the animator can switch out, the top part of the face and the bottom part of the face separately, so that we can get these really unique and customizable, expressive characters. And being able to switch out the top and the bottom. If the top of the face isn't moving, you can just switch out the bottom. It makes things a lot easier for the animators, but it also means we have to remove that seam, and that can be done frame to frame. It can be done procedural. We do all kinds of those fixes. That's one of the main things that we do. Obviously, there's little things that can happen. You can see the cleanup. So one interesting thing is, and this is kind of gross, and I'm going to apologize in advance. When the animators are going to animate the eyes, the way that they animate the eyes is they use like an X-Acto razor blade right and sort of like pinpoint poke it right into the eye. And it works really well for them. It's really easy to animate the eyes with that razor blade. But at the same time, you're thinking, while you're cleaning it up, you're like, you just think about this razors and eyes, and it's just a mess. But but what it does is, over the course of the shot, is like the pupil of the eye starts to get these little ding marks from the razor hitting it every time. And so we have to go in and clean that kind of thing up. Obviously, there's like little imperfections and facial blemishes. There's a little note here on the character Neil about chatter. And so one thing that we have to deal with is from frame to frame, each one of those faces is 3D printed. And as cool and as good as those 3D printers are, because believe me, they are super impressive, there can be very minor fluctuations in the tonal quality of the print of the 3D face. And so what happens in a stop motion shot, it's like frame after frame after frame after frame. And if you have these like little inconsistencies, even though they're not, if you're looking at all the faces like sitting out on the table, you can't really tell when you see it animated. You're going to need to do some cleanup work and some sort of stabilization of that color over time to give it a more natural feel, to sort of, you keep it stop motion, but then you sort of, you keep the stop motion charm, but you are also digitally altering it so that it's less obvious, even though it is still handmade and it's still, beautiful piece of stop motion animation. We always want to respect, even though we're doing things digitally, we want to respect the stop motion process. We want to respect the animators, the way that they did something. So if they had an intention in mind, you kind of have to look at the footage, understand the intention, and fix the sort of problems that happen because of stop motion animation, but do it in the way that the animator intended. And so that's kind of the fine, sort of the tightrope we have to walk at work in fixing this kind of footage. Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to sort of bringing that into the software, I mean, where does Silhouette sit within this?
Right. So we'll get those plates, and the first thing we'll do is we'll throw it into Silhouette, and we will, that's where all our, I want to say not everybody uses Silhouette 100% of the time. I have to be very clear about that. So I know some people out there will be like, hey, but I didn't do that in Silhouette. But like most of it, save for me at least, save for some garbage mats or something in Nuke, everything's coming from Silhouette. All of my point tracking, any sort of like spline work that I have to do, like articulated roto, most of my garbage mats, any sort of dust bust stuff that I base on like procedural roto shapes, that's all coming from Silhouette. And I'm able to export that to Nuke really seamlessly, and then do sort of the more comp heavy tasks there. But, Silhouette is absolutely the best place to do your point tracking. I don't know if you've ever used point tracking in other software, but it's a lot harder to use than Silhouette. So there's something just so natural and easy about just dropping a point down, tweaking it as you go along, getting it perfect, averaging multiple different point tracks together, just basically refining your work and getting it perfect in Silhouette. And that way, when you throw it into another package, you don't have to worry about all the problems that package has. You know that your work is clean, and you know that your work is solid coming from Silhouette. And it's something that I've been working with Silhouette since it was Silhouette 2. This is like, I want to say maybe 2008-ish times. And we got some educational licenses through Pixel Core, which is kind of the birth of the company that I started called Boundary Visual Effects. We sort of came out of that. But we got some licenses way back then, and have been using Silhouette as well as Mocha, which back then, if you may know, was Moki and Monet. I want to say were the ones that we were using back then. And the marriage of those two pieces of software, when that happened, when it was like, hey, Silhouette has a Mocha tracker in it now. That was one of the most like exciting days software-wise in my life.
Yeah. But, I hear you. Definitely on that. I mean, but I think because Silhouette has a lot of this sort of tracking thing, not only built in, but also just the ways of checking and refining in a sort of very straightforward, fast way. Just being able to see if stuff's working by hitting one button to stabilize your viewer up, to see whether it's working 100% or whether it is actually drifting and not doing quite what you want. And then, just being able to, sort of very naturally change and average things out. Do we have a shot we can have a look at? Because I want to talk to you a little bit about Mocha in there as well.
Sure thing. Yeah. Do you want to pull it up? I think screen sharing. Is that the shot you're talking about? The
give me.
I think we'll let's get mission control on this.
All right, there we go.
Oh, cool.
There we go.
So the studio has allowed me to show you guys the shot, and I know I asked you guys. I did a little quiz of like how many. I had to do this task where it was sort of at the end of the show. This is one of the puppets that has been animated throughout the movie, and he's things happen on set where little pieces of dust will fall, and we have a frame where we can kind of see things. So you could kind of see every frame he's just kind of covered in dust, and part of that is it's coming from the set. It's also this puppet is I think he's either 12 inches or 16 inches tall. So these pieces of dust that we're seeing are super tiny, and you can't really see it as an animator on set, but once you get it on to camera, it becomes a huge issue. So what we'll have to do is go in and clean up a lot of this dust, and it's a huge chore. And I asked you guys yesterday when we were doing rehearsal of how many roto splines did you think it took? They were point tracked in, they were Mocha tracked in, they were set up in their various layers to represent this motion and to get rid of that dust. And I asked you guys how many points. Do you remember? And
I do, and I'm going to stall for a second because I'm just going to throw this open to chat because I want chat to type in how many they think.
How many shapes?
Before we do
how many shapes
reveals. How many shapes?
I mean, if somebody gets it, I will happily give away a Boris FX suite. Right? If somebody gets it in the chat, I'll tell you right now, because I didn't get it, and I don't think any of us even came close.
I didn't get it. I think we'll give 5 more seconds before I say what I think my answer was, and I think I said 800.
Yeah, I think Marco said 200, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah,
right.
I was embarrassed to even say a number. In my head, I was thinking like 10. Right. All right. We definitely have some. Okay, so we got 13,300, 1,600, 249, 122. A lot of people guessing 1,000, 2,500.
Oh wow.
This is now we've created a monster. So
yeah,
how many?
We've got a couple that are really close.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do the big reveal. Yes, please.
All right. So, and it does have a very funny name for this last shape. It's in a layer called ice hole. There was a tiny hole in the ice that I had to fix, and so I named it that. And I didn't really think at the time. Of course, yeah. Back now, it's hilarious. 2,171 B splines. So, and I can turn those on so you can see them.
Wow.
Look, you just scroll down. Those are real numbers. Look at that scrolling by.
I'll call it 2,100. If anyone guessed 2,100, I actually think. So
James, while you're calling that up, what's your spline choice as far as looks like you're using B splines? How do you choose that over X splines or Bézier's?
I mean, obviously X splines are kind of the cool splines that have both things going on. But for me, when I'm just throwing a shape out there, when I'm just, got to do something quick, I'm just B splines like 100% of the way, just about. Occasionally I'll use a Bézier, but for me, I'm a B spline guy. I fall into that generation of artists.
Me too.
But
We
yeah.
often have
I was-
arguments
yeah, I was-
about
I was
which
gonna
spline
ask.
time is used the most.
Yeah, I was going to ask because there is a certain a generational split between, and it's interesting to sort of see where people's heritage sort of comes down on the X spline versus B spline.
Yeah, so in the shot, we had a lot of things to do. Surprisingly, there's not a whole lot of rig action going on. I'd love to show you guys some rig stuff, but unfortunately the shot doesn't really have it. But what this shot did have is a huge opportunity to show off, some cleanup work. I don't have the final in front of me, but if you watch the movie, now available on DVD and Blu-ray and streaming, Missing Link. Just throw a plug in there.
Please do.
So things like set shifting, I don't know if you can see this down in this corner right here. You can see the set shifts. What we'll have to do is either get a clean plate from Stages. They'll film like individual clean plates for us, or we'll have to freeze frame something that was shot within the shot. So I think for this shot, I ended up freeze framing this whole front area and then rotoing back in sort of the shadow, the arm, the fingers. So a lot of those splines in that 2171 or whatever it is are like GMATs and articulated roto shapes. Also do things like if you see these yellow shapes here, they are they're meant to blend this sort of facial region. It's something we had to go back and blend a whole bunch of different shots with this sort of. I turn off using the 0 key. I could turn off all my splines, and you could see, there's just that little seam there. And so that all gets blended out with blurs and things using these roto shapes, as well as, the facial seams, these eyelids. And so, the team just did such a spectacular job of, basically the entire movie, anytime you see a character, it's like somebody went in and did that and did a great job, and really beautiful work.
James, we're getting some questions about how long you worked on this particular scene.
Oh, this shot, I want to say this was the very last shot that I did on Missing Link. And I want to say that I didn't spend the whole time doing it over the course of a month, but I worked on the shot over the course of a month. Yeah, so it was quite an undertaking. It's one of the shots that I think back on of like, man, I sat down, I hunkered down and I did it, and it still took a long time. Like there's some shots you can kind of, lazily work on like a sunny afternoon and just sort of la-di-da. This was not that. This was, this was like audiobooks are going, like you finish Dune during the course of it. Like this is one of those.
So James, with all these shapes, are you in the camp of when a shape is no longer used, do you move it off screen, or do you leave it on screen and animate the opacity from one frame to another to get rid of it?
I am of the camp where you animate the opacity off, but not only that, but you move it to where it's supposed to be on the frame where it's off, and then you animate it off so that. I mean, we don't have motion blur, it's stop motion animation, but I still do it. I still do it force of habit. You animate it to its next position and then you keyframe it off. And that way your motion blur stays accurate to where you need it to be right before it turns off. So if you take your shape and you slide it off to the edge of the frame, like way over here, we'll go there. Just dropped it right over there. That's going to create like a motion blur streak if you have your motion blur turned on. But a lot of people at Laika that I know are of the camp of just sliding it off the frame because we don't have to worry about the motion blur. That's not an issue that we have. Also, what's really cool about stop motion animation, and this is going to excite a lot of roto artists, there's no really fine hair detail. You don't have to roto people's hair. It's all like animated stylized hair where it's like in chunks, and it's beautiful, but it's not those really fine individual strands, that you'd have to do with like an open spline or you guys know how hard it is to get accurate hair animation, especially when someone's standing very still and the wind is blowing and it's just sort of very finely, bouncing around. That kind of roto can be just incredibly tough if you can't get a good key on it or something. Like that's where a lot of people are like, roto's not for me, and it's understandable. But thankfully we don't have to deal with that. I mean, we have to deal with a lot of other problems, but that is not one of them. But yeah.
If Brian wants to cut to my screen for 2 seconds.
Sorry, I'm just watching Laika's amazingly beautiful work here. I get sucked into watching the reels. I'm like, yeah. All right, here we go, Ben.
Here we go.
Oh yeah,
yeah. This was the least amount of hair detail that we could get on this, and it still runs into the hundreds at some points. Yeah. This is no fun. I can say, because this was asked in the chat earlier, like if there was any of the new tools that were around to help with doing sort of fine hair roto. And yes, go back, have a little look at the brush reshape tool. This is an absolute godsend for hair roto. It really is. So just watch back at that little point where I talked about the brush reshape, because brush reshape and hair strands, very nice.
Hairs and brushes. I get it.
Hairs and brushes. Oh, see, it's poetic, and I didn't even think of it. I've got another question though. Actually, I've got tons of questions, but I think the next one on my list is like when you're dealing with shots, is it usually one artist dealing with a single shot, or are there ones where you have multiple people working on the same shot?
I think it's a combination of all those things. A lot of times it'll be one artist working on one element of one shot. So a lot of times our filmed elements for a single shot will be in a lot of different passes. So, one person will be working on the foreground character and another person will be working on like the main character. And then maybe there's a few background characters and then a third person will be working on that. Other times there will be a single element and we'll split that between multiple artists. So for instance, we'll have one person working on the seams and then we'll have, another person working on the rigs. And then there's these sort of extreme situations where if you have just like super crazy complex rigs and they need the shot by the end of the week, we split those tasks between, maybe there'll be like 5 people working on even one thing to roto. And then we'll kind of combine all of that work into one project file and then, do our combining and compositing sort of work. So it is a combination. It's kind of whatever situation sort of fits the moment and lets us deliver in the most efficient way that we can. Because obviously, if you have an easy task, you don't want to split that easy task between 10 people because then it just becomes inefficient. But if you have something super hard that really needs that, having that option there is really handy.
And James, are you guys exporting actual shape data, or are you rendering maps out? Is one of the questions in the chat.
Oh, that's a good question.
Going between Silhouette and Nuke, for instance.
Right. So a lot of times we will be exporting the shape data. If we're using it, like we're exporting ourselves the shape and tracking data. If it's going to comp, usually we'll ask the artist like, hey, is it cool if I send you splines or would you rather have mats? And, some people don't want to mess around with splines. That's totally understandable. Those of us that do want to mess around with splines, I think, are a special type of people. But we'll render them out mats. Sometimes that'll come from Silhouette. Sometimes we'll export our own splines to Nuke and then render them from Nuke and then send them that. So it really is just whatever is the most efficient in the moment to get that task done.
Cool. And
also
on that same. Oh, sorry. Go for it, Marco.
No, I don't, James. I don't know if you can talk about it, but I noticed in your version of Silhouette, you had your own Leica menu there. Is there anything you can talk about that? I mean, Silhouette's open, where facilities can customize it using Python to put some of their own tools in there.
Yeah, we do have a few sort of import-export tools. Some of them were helped. Some of that's just rendering so that we have like a very consistent way that we're all rendering that information on our render farm. So some of that goes out to the render farm. Some of the menu options are things that we developed with Intel as part of our artificial intelligence project. I don't know if you guys may have heard about this. This is kind of where that conversation about the weighted timeline adjustment tool started. Was what do you do if there's a keyframe on every frame, and how do you fix sliding shapes if they're all already completely keyframed out? And I was doing that using the multiframe tool, but then just confining it to little regions, and then having to sort of transition between those regions by doing little tiny keyframes on each one of those keys. But it's so much more efficient what you guys have created with the weighted multi-timeline tool. I'm just so excited about it because it gives us the opportunity to make those changes. And then once we do, we can use that Leica menu that you just asked about to export things over to Nuke. So we have a custom importer in Nuke that can import a ton of like nodes all at once. So Nuke's regular functionality is like, we'll bring in one node at a time. We can import one thing at a time. But if you have all these like layers and layers and layers of complicated data, and you want it to come across in a way that's organized, you want it to be able to have each set of those things in a node and have it be its own separate node. And so a lot of the really great the prod tech work, people like Taku Wakisaka at Leica have been super instrumental in developing the sort of custom tools that we need to get this just sort of monumental tasks done. And a big credit to everybody in prod tech for helping us with that. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
I think can I just add quickly onto that, just very, very briefly, because I noticed we've got Katie Morris in the chat as well, and if you do enjoy scripting with Silhouette, or you want to sort of extend some of the tools with scripting in Silhouette, then Katie Morris actually has a website that she has developed with, blanked on his name. It's just great, some really sort of useful. Thank you. Yeah, some very, very useful tools for just sort of doing some sort of common paint and roto tasks with Silhouette. And I think Brian maybe has the website up that he can press in. I'm saying maybe. And
you have way too much faith in me. What was the website?
Do you know? I asked for this in chat about 40 minutes ago. But,
yeah, it's fine. It's okay.
It's fine. I'll send you a link. I'll send you a link. Cut away from me, and I'll.
Oh, now I'm completely lost. Slack me, Ben. Slack me when you get a chance. And,
I will.
Yeah. I know, we're all right. We'll just go to James. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
So a cool thing about those scripts, I've been working with Magno Borgo, who worked with Katie on those. I've been working with him since I started, and he's just like been an absolute mentor and just an awesome dude that's around to answer questions. We started Boundary Visual Effects together way back in the day. And I just want to give a shout out because he's awesome. And I haven't checked out the scripts yet, but I promised you they look really cool.
James, it's amazing. And in addition to talented roto artist and amazing filmmaker, you are great at vamping for me too, as well. So I appreciate that. Let's see if I can get this Katie's website. Look at that. Right?
Yeah. Oh, so smooth.
Amazing.
So smooth.
Amazing. Ben, why don't you recap again?
Up on Git. all up on GitHub there. So yeah, so we've got like a ton of really, really amazingly useful scripts. Just like simple things like just being able to change paint opacity with a single key frame, a single key bind, so you can easily set keyboard shortcuts for stuff that isn't where the keyboard shortcut isn't usually easily identifiable. So yeah, there's a ton of great stuff up there, and I heartily recommend people go check it out. I've got more questions, obviously.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. I've seen the time. We need to do a prize. We need to do a prize, and then we're going to come back.
Yes.
So this is my favorite bit of every stream, is I get to give away something and feel like I'm helping. And congratulations to Victoria Guateleri. Oh God, I'm sorry, Victoria. I hope that my terrible mispronunciation of your surname is forgiven, because you have won 12 months to Silhouette. What?
Oh.
No, it's a 12.
That's not my fault.
It's a 12-month subscription to the Boris FX suite.
No, this is a 12-month subscription to Silhouette. So congratulations, Victoria.
Is this?
Yes. Now.
Oh, congratulations, Victoria.
Yes. This is a
we're
bonus
doing
prize.
two prizes.
Doing two prizes.
Oh, see, no one told me about the bonus prize. Sorry, Victoria, but congratulations on winning Silhouette.
And
Victoria's gonna get a lot of Roto done with that 12
Rafael
months.
Freire Santos, congratulations, you have won the 12 months to Boris FX suite. Is that works almost? It's a 12-month subscription of Boris FX suite.
I mean, did I
full
mention
Boris FX suite?
Happy St. Patrick's Day, Ben. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yes. Congratulations to everyone drinking.
Nice
the
work,
green beer.
Victoria
Well
and
done,
Raphael. And Claudia. We gave a subscription.
Yes.
Claudia got the correct number right.
Bonus.
So it's a bonus prize. Nice work, everyone.
Tons of good stuff. Well, let's get some more questions going. If you haven't got your questions in yet, you want to head on over to boriseffectslive.com, or if you're on YouTube, then just chat away right on the chat there. If you are on YouTube, there's also one other thing you need to do. Just underneath the viewer, there's a little thumbs up button that I would really like you to press if you're enjoying the stream. It costs you nothing, and it helps us out a huge amount. So please consider hitting that thumbs up button. Even if you're watching on Boris FX Live, just head on over to YouTube. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying. And with that shameless begging over with for now, let's ask some more questions, shall we? I've got another one from chat, which that's the wrong piece of paper that I picked up. The other one from chat was about rotoscoping versus keying. There are quite a few shots there that looked like a good deal could be keyed. When you can pull a key, is that the route that you go with mostly?
So in our department, in the Roto Paint department, not so much. You might be able to get away with a little bit of keying, but we leave a lot of that keying to the compositors. And one of the interesting things about our footage is that we are able, because it's stop motion animation, we're able to, for every single frame that we shoot, we'll shoot another pass that is specifically a green screen backlit pass. So it'll be the character in the foreground in complete silhouette. There'll be basically like a dark outline. Sorry, it'll be basically like a shadowy figure in the foreground, and then a stark green, super keyable, perfect green screen in the background. So the normal plate that you see when you're looking at, those breakdowns or that frame that I had shown earlier is sort of a hero beauty lighting pass. So it's lit specifically so that the character looks really good, regardless of what the green screen looks like. So we don't mess around with that too much. A lot of times we end up, even if a rig has like green tape on it or like a green card blocking it out, we're still going to rotoscope that a lot of the time, just because the key that we'd be able to get off that hero lighting pass is not as good as what the compositor would be able to get on that green screen lighting pass, if that makes sense. So
yeah,
there is some keying. Sometimes you can get away with it, but a lot of times the cleanness of the roto is so important to the compositor, because if you're doing like a dirty little key real quick, I know we've all been there and we've gotten away with it sometimes, but we want that quality to be perfect. And to do that, we do try to use roto as much as possible for those kinds of fixes. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, that's perfect. Thanks for that. I had another question about, and I'm not sure if this is even your sort of department, but it was about the fur. Can we Brian, is it easy to bring up the screen back again? James'
Yep.
screen?
Yep. Hold on one second.
Because one of the things that always amazes me a lot about Missing Link is the sort of fur animation.
Yeah.
And that's something that, again, sort of just is very contrasted to just the sort of CG fur simulation type of work. But there were some shots where there was a lot of wind movement in fur.
Right.
Was that achieved on set, or was that in post?
So that was actually in post. And you know what I just told you about how there's different lighting passes? So we'll have our hero lighting pass where it's like this shot of Link here, where it's lit specifically not for the blue screen, but it's lit specifically because that's the lighting we want to have on the character. So another instance of using those multiple passes is using a UV light setup. And what they did, someone very clever painted individual strands of Link's fur with like different color UV paint. And so what they were able to do is, as they were animating, switching between those different light passes, giving us separate image sequences for each one, and then that black light UV lighting pass with the individual strands sort of painted here and there was used to power a distortion in Nuke. And so they were able to like animate her. It's so clever. You couldn't do that with live action. I mean, maybe you could, but it's just sort of the options that are open when you stop between every frame and you can change everything around. It's really mind blowing, and it's something that's so cool to work with and see, the incredible artists that are able to achieve those kinds of effects. So yeah, it's just like a UV black light pass that is in our shot folder right alongside with the rest of our footage. Is this crazy glowing Sasquatch, So I don't know, what more could you want?
That's amazing. That's brilliant.
And, and the other thing,
Marco, sorry, yes, James, please carry on.
I was just going to say that another really cool thing is that we have to work on all these different passes sometimes when we're doing our paint work in Silhouette. And so one of the really cool things is you can swap your footage out for a different lighting pass in Silhouette, and then rebuild your frames and apply all that paint work that you did on your hero pass. You can apply it right back down onto each of those corresponding passes that go with it. So I don't know if you guys knew, I know you guys know that you could rebuild paint, but I don't know if you knew that that's kind of one of the things that we did at work was use Silhouette in that way to process, like multi-image sequences like that. And I hope, that's something cool and interesting.
It's very, very cool and very interesting. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the great things about auto paint, isn't it? Is that because you're sort of building up these actions rather than working on a specific frame, that gives you that sort of flexibility. That's actually a very interesting way of working with the tools. I was going to ask if Marco had anything else, because I've been talking quite a lot.
No, I think it's just really interesting to kind of get the behind the scenes look. I know Paul has kind of mentioned this in the chat, but Laika has been instrumental over the years in providing feedback that has turned into some major features, starting with our stereo support. I believe on Coraline, we were approached and we asked Laika what they were looking for, and they gave us a list. We implemented it. Obviously, it's been massaged and tweaked since then. But the basis for the stereo support came from Laika, and as James mentioned, the weighted multiframe that you see here came out of a discussion with Laika on how to solve the issue of being able to adjust not only a ton of keyframes, but be able to weigh that adjustment over time. So, this customer connections and input has been huge for us, because, we do what we think is right, but we don't think of everything. We work a certain way. And, all this input from artists and facilities around the globe has really helped to make Silhouette the product that it is. So it's all really exciting, and love to be able to hear how artists like James use the software in practical use.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Marco. I think we're going to unfortunately have to wrap things up now. Brian, at Mission Control, are there any big questions that have been missed? And you're missing your hat, by the way,
and glasses.
It's all
the glasses we can leave.
It's all come apart.
Oh no.
No, I think I think we answered a bunch of the questions. How about this? James, would you know, is Laika hiring? Testcomp wants to know if there's any open positions. I second that. I would like to come move to Oregon and work at Laika as well. Lots of love for the presentation. Great jobs, James. Great to see these insider behind the tips. Great. By the way, just thank you to Laika for even allowing you to speak about these things, because that is not the case, right?
And James, I think to follow on to our last live stream that we had for Silhouette, I think it might be helpful to some of the newer users that are kind of learning. When you do hire somebody, as things start to ramp up again, what do you look for? Do you looking for people with experience? Do you hire people who are just starting out? And what do you look for?
I think we look for a broad range of things. Like, we do look for that experience, but we also look for new people that are trainable with the latest sort of, cool ideas that, like the latest sort of, if somebody's learning for the first time on the newest version of Silhouette, that's going to provide us a huge resource for them to teach, even us more experienced people, what we need to know, So it's a broad range, kind of all levels from beginner to most experienced dude at ILM or something like that. It's everybody. You should know how to use basic use of the software. You should know, some nuke. You should know, basic, just sort of visual effects basics. But beyond that, there's a lot of the ways that we do things at Laika are different from other studios. So even if you're coming in with a lot of experience, you're still going to have to learn a lot. I learned a ton when I started, even having worked in stop motion before, and continue to learn every day. So as long as you're open to learning new things and a passion for the industry, a decent reel that shows you can at least roto something, I think definitely stand a chance.
A lot of people ask me the question, and it's a great one to ask you now. If somebody is passionate about getting into this industry and they don't have experience, like people always say like,
Right.
like, what should I do? And I always tell them exactly what you just said, Roto something, right? Like
Yeah.
that's, you can grab a piece of video and it doesn't have to be feature film quality, but if you show that, you have the skills and the passion to try and master something like that, that's something that is always an asset. We could use Roto at Boris FX, right? Like, so it's, definitely something that, sure, go ahead.
Can I ask you, not ask you, but tell you a little bit about what I did when I started and how I got in to Roto Factory, which was, which was one of my first jobs that I ever did was working there with Eric Christensen in Santa Rosa. Really awesome experience. So I just went out. I worked at a day job at a small editing studio out in Salinas, California. And what I did was I borrowed my boss's camera and I just went out of the parking lot and I went into the lobby and I just started shooting stuff. I shot, an image of my hand and I flipped it back and forth. And then I took that footage and I went and I started to Roto on it. And I was using, I believe it was Mocha at the time. And I rotoed all this stuff in Mocha and then I slap comped it together in Shake, or just whatever I can get my hands on back in the day. And I did all these shots and I slapped it together in a reel, and I think it's still out there. I think it's on Vimeo. If you look me up on Vimeo, you can still find the first reel that I did. But yeah, it was just with a mini DV cam. I mean, people's phones have better cameras now, so you can go and you can make a killer reel just using your phone, and it's totally acceptable. I don't care if it came from an Avengers film. If it's an Avengers film, great, but am I going to see your specific work on that? I know I'm going to see your specific work if you went out and you shot it yourself. So I highly encourage people that are interested in rotoscoping to give Silhouette a shot, to give Mocha a shot, to go and try that with your camera and try to make something really cool on your computer. And I'd love to take a look. So go do it. Go make stuff. For me, it's been a joy. It's been, one of my favorite things in my life has been working on these just really cool movies and commercials and everything else. So, I mean, I'd love for other people to have that opportunity as well. And shooting your own footage is one way to do that. And it's right there in your hand already. So go and do it.
No, great advice. Great advice. I mean, we do forget that,
the internet detectives have already found your reel, by the way. It's up in chat right now.
Nice. Nice. No, we carry around these amazing cameras all the time that we use to stare at Facebook. Right? That there's really no more excuse for not having access to the equipment. Like I said, you can go shoot your kids, and roto it. So no, it's great advice.
Oh yeah. Like that guy that does I don't know, he'll do the floor is lava with his kid.
Oh, Hashi.
You know
movie dad. Yeah, of course. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, full on. He makes by the way, I'll just say thank you, Hashi, for making my kids ask me to do that, which I am not going to do. What? He's a lot better than me. So that would take me quite a long time. Now his stuff is great. Cool. All right, Ben, what else?
That's it. I think I just want to say thank you to everyone for joining. This has been a really, really enjoyable stream personally to chat with James. Hopefully this isn't going to be the last time that we talk, James.
This is the last
people
time.
Don't know, but this is the last time. This stream has been a year in the making.
Yes.
We planned this for NAB last year. And it's now, almost a full 12 months later. I don't know what happened to
we were so young.
Change
we were
the
so
time
young
scale.
and innocent. We were so young, right? We didn't know what was going to happen, right? We thought it was fine, but no. Thank you, James. So happy that we could actually make this happen. So this is,
thank you guys so much for having me and for making such amazing software. I really mean it. It's awesome. So
thank you.
Thank you. It's It's yeah. So thanks very much to our special guest James Pina. Thank you very much to Marco for helping out with all my questions. Thank you very much to Brian over in Mission Control. We have another Boris FX live event coming up in 2 weeks' time. You can find full details about that stream on borisfxlive.com. If you have enjoyed the stream and you are watching on YouTube, hit that little thumbs up button. It's the last time I'm going to beg for it this stream. So please do it. It costs you nothing. It helps us. It helps us feed the little algorithm, and it means that we can make these or carry on making these bigger and better. So thanks again to everyone who's helped to join in on the chat as well. We will see you very soon. My name is Ben Brownlee for Boris FX. Thanks very much for now. I'll see you again in another stream.